Just a few hours ago, WWE fans were left stunned after an unexpected turn of events at Saturday night's main event. While the focus was supposed to be on the undisputed WWE champion, Cody Rhodes, successfully defending his title against Kevin Owens, the aftermath quickly stole the spotlight. What seemed like a hard-fought victory for Rhodes turned into an explosive situation when Owens launched a vicious post-match attack that left the champion motionless in the ring. A piledriver from Owens not only put Rhodes in grave danger, but also ignited a personal feud between the two megastars. What followed was nothing short of unpredictable, as Cody Rhodes vowed to seek retribution in a way WWE fans have never seen before. The build-up, two megastars at their peak. The anticipation surrounding the match between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens had been growing for months. Both men are no strangers to the WWE spotlight, having earned their place at the top of the card with years of hard work and dedication. Cody Rhodes, now the undisputed WWE champion, had proved his resilience and skill, winning the title in a dramatic and emotional storyline. Owens, on the other hand, was determined to earn his first championship reign in a long time. With so much at stake, fans knew that this match would not be just another title defense. Owens was hungry for a shot at the gold, while Rhodes, who had fought tooth and nail to reach the top, had everything to lose. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The match, a brutal battle between two heavyweights. As the bell rang, the atmosphere inside the arena was electric. Fans could feel the tension between the two competitors. Kevin Owens immediately displayed his ruthless nature, charging at Cody with a ferocity that left no room for mistakes. The action quickly spilled into an all-out brawl, with Owens unleashing a barrage of suplexes and using a chair to inflict further damage. The champion was in for the fight of his life, and Owens made sure to exploit every opportunity to wear him down. For a while, it seemed as though Owens might actually pull off an upset. His relentless assault on Rhodes, combined with his hard-hitting style, seemed to leave the champion reeling. But as the match progressed, it became clear that Cody Rhodes was more than just a title holder. He was a fighter. The champion's signature resilience was on full display as he battled back against Owens's brutal offense. The match turned into an absolute war, with both competitors putting their bodies on the line. The crowd was fully invested, with every move and counter-move intensifying the drama. Finally, it was Cody Rhodes who emerged victorious after hitting his signature move, the Crossroads, and securing the pinfall. The arena erupted as the champion retained his title, but little did anyone know that the true drama of the night was just beginning. The shocking attack, Kevin Owens strikes after the bell. As Cody Rhodes celebrated his hard-earned victory, the atmosphere in the arena shifted. Owens, who had just suffered a brutal defeat, stood at ringside, his face contorted with anger and frustration. The fans, still in celebration mode, had no idea that Owens was about to make a statement that would leave them speechless. Without warning, Owens stormed back into the ring, his eyes burning with rage. What followed was a vicious attack that seemed almost personal. Owens hoisted Cody into the air and delivered a brutal piledriver, driving the champion's head into the canvas with terrifying force. The piledriver, one of the most dangerous moves in professional wrestling, left Rhodes motionless in the ring. The impact was deafening, and the crowd fell into stunned silence. The severity of the attack left fans wondering, what was Owens trying to prove? Was this an act of frustration after a bitter defeat, or was this a calculated move designed to send a powerful message to Cody Rhodes, the WWE locker room, and the entire WWE universe? Aftermath. Owens sends a message to the WWE universe. As the officials rushed to check on Cody Rhodes, Owens stood over him, clearly gloating over the devastation he had caused. He taunted the fallen champion, sending the message that this wasn't just a random post-match assault. Owens was making a statement, one that would reverberate throughout WWE. The medical team quickly arrived on the scene, and Rhodes was taken to the back for further evaluation. The severity of his injuries wasn't immediately clear, but the pile driver was no minor move. Fans and officials alike were left anxiously waiting for an update on the champion's condition. Fortunately, it wasn't long before it was confirmed that Rhodes was conscious and responsive. While he was clearly in pain, there was relief that the damage wasn't as severe as initially feared, but the impact of the attack lingered. And Owens had certainly succeeded in getting the attention he wanted. Cody Rhodes responds, "A vow for retribution." In the hours following the attack, Cody Rhodes took to social media to deliver a fiery message to Kevin Owens. In a passionate video, Rhodes vowed to exact revenge on Owens for what he had done. His words were filled with emotion and intensity as the champion promised to make Owens regret his actions. "You made the biggest mistake of your life, Kevin Owens," Cody declared. "I've fought too hard to get to where I am, and now you've decided to put your hands on me in a way that is unforgivable. You want to make a statement? You've made one. But I promise you, this isn't over. You've awoken something in me, and I will make sure you pay for what you did. The pile driver may have put me down, but it will not keep me down. I'm coming for you, Owens, and I will make you regret this attack." Rhodes' vow for retribution has shaken the WWE Universe to its core. Fans have been speculating on what form this retaliation will take. Could this feud lead to a no-holds-barred match, a last-man-standing match, or perhaps something even more personal? One thing is certain: Cody Rhodes will not rest until Owens pays for what he did. The WWE locker room reacts. Allies and rivals weigh in. As news of the attack spread, WWE superstars from all corners of the locker room voiced their opinions. Many expressed their outrage at Owens' actions, with some suggesting that he had crossed a line that should never be crossed in the world of professional wrestling. Roman Reigns, the current WWE Universal Champion, took to social media to voice his thoughts on Owens' attack. "Kevin Owens crossed a line that shouldn't be crossed," Reigns wrote. "This business is about respect, and Owens just showed a total lack of it. What he did to Cody? That's personal. He'll pay for it." Seth Rollins, another top WWE superstar, weighed in saying, "Cody's my brother, and what Owens did was disgusting. He didn't just attack Cody, he attacked the entire locker room. I can't wait to see how this plays out." Becky Lynch, known for her fierce competitive spirit, added her voice to the conversation. "Cody Rhodes is a warrior. What Owens did was a cowardly act. There's no place for that in this business. I'll be watching this closely." The WWE Universe has been just as vocal, with fans divided over Owens' actions. Some believe that Owens was simply trying to elevate himself and get back into the title picture, while others are rallying behind Rhodes, vowing to support him as he seeks vengeance. The future of the rivalry. What's next for Cody and Owens? With the intense reaction from both the WWE locker room and the fans, the question now becomes, what's next for this red-hot rivalry? Could this feud escalate into something even more personal in the coming weeks? Fans are eagerly awaiting to see if this rivalry will culminate at WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, or another major WWE event. The possibilities are endless. Will Owens continue his assault on Rhodes, or will Cody bounce back with a vengeance and reclaim his title? Could we see a stipulation match that takes this rivalry to the next level? Whatever the outcome, it's clear that WWE fans are in for an unforgettable ride. The struggle to find self-worth. It had been years since he truly felt seen. His life had been spent in relationships where his value had been tied to the approval of others, his partners, his friends, his colleagues. He found himself shrinking, bending, and contorting into shapes that fit into the lives of those around him. He gave everything of himself: his time, his energy, his affection. Yet, it always felt like there was something missing. Despite all his efforts to love and be loved, he couldn't shake the nagging feeling that his true self had been swallowed up in the process. The erosion of his confidence was gradual at first, a subtle fading that only became apparent when he looked back on his life with the lens of introspection. In the midst of a long-term relationship, he felt more like an accessory than an equal. He was constantly battling the feeling that he wasn't enough, that the person he loved didn't really understand him, his wisdom, or the depth of his heart. It wasn't arrogance. It was a quiet knowing that something fundamental was being overlooked. His uniqueness, his experiences, and the vast world he had lived through seemed invisible to those who mattered most. He had spent so much time trying to prove his worth that he forgot to ask himself whether he truly valued himself. The defining moment, a decision for himself. The turning point came on a seemingly ordinary evening. With the clarity that only comes from having reached a breaking point, he made a decision. He would no longer stay in a relationship that made him feel invisible, insignificant, or undervalued. For the first time in years, he chose himself. It was a decision that came with fear, anxiety, and a heavy heart. He wasn't sure how it would unfold or whether he would regret it, but he knew one thing. He could no longer keep pretending that the relationship was fulfilling him. His self-worth had been quietly eroded over time, and if he didn't stand up for it now, he feared it might disappear entirely. He approached the conversation with a calmness that surprised him. As he sat down to talk to her, he realized that he wasn't angry. He wasn't even bitter. He had simply reached a place of deep understanding. With a steady voice, he looked her in the eye and expressed everything he had been holding inside for years. He shared how the relationship had worn down his confidence, how it felt like he was continually overlooked and dismissed. He explained that he could no longer endure being treated as if his needs, emotions, and desires didn't matter. The pain of letting go. When he finished speaking, there was silence between them. She dismissed his words as overreaction, labeling them as dramatics or unfounded complaints. There was no empathy in her response, no recognition of the deep pain he was feeling, but he didn't flinch. He had been expecting this. He had spent years accommodating her perspective, always trying to bend to fit into her world, but in this moment, he finally saw through the facade. He understood that her refusal to see him wasn't a reflection of his worth. It was a reflection of her inability to value the fullness of who he was. As he stood up and prepared to leave, he felt an odd sense of liberation. Yes, there was sorrow. Leaving behind a person he had once loved was not easy. There was a mourning for the future that would never be, and for the dreams that would remain unfulfilled. But beneath the sadness, there was also a profound sense of relief. The weight he had been carrying for so long, the constant pressure to be someone he wasn't, began to lift. For the first time in years, he could breathe freely. His shoulders were no longer weighed down by the expectation of someone else's approval. Every step he took away from the house felt lighter, like he was shedding a layer of skin. He wasn't just walking away from her, he was walking toward himself. The quiet solitude, rediscovering the self. In the days that followed, he found himself in the grips of loneliness. The silence in his home was deafening. He missed the company, the daily interactions, even the routines they had once shared. Nights were the hardest when the absence of another person's presence felt like a deep void. He longed for the simple comfort of shared moments, of someone to talk to or just be with. But as the weeks passed, he began to notice something remarkable. This loneliness wasn't the same as the hollow emptiness he had felt during the relationship. It was different. It was quiet, dignified, and filled with space. This wasn't a loneliness born from feeling unloved or unappreciated. This was a solitude that allowed him to reconnect with himself, to rediscover the parts of him that had been buried under years of compromise and sacrifice. He began to reflect not with regret, but with gratitude for all that he had learned along the way. He looked back at his life, not with sadness, but with an appreciation for the man he had become. He remembered his younger self, the one full of dreams and untainted hope, and he realized that man was still there, just hidden beneath layers of self-doubt and fear of rejection. Slowly, he started to reconnect with the things that once brought him joy. He reached out to old friends, people who had known him before he became a shadow of himself in the name of love. He dusted off hobbies he hadn't touched in years, finding solace in the simple act of creation and exploration. He began to immerse himself in the things that nourished his soul, and in doing so, he began to feel alive again. The transformation, a new perspective. One day, as he stood in front of the mirror, he saw something he hadn't noticed before. The man staring back at him was not the same as the one who had left a relationship months ago. His face had wrinkles, and his hair had started to turn gray, but he no longer saw these marks of aging as signs of weakness or decline. Instead, he saw them as symbols of resilience, of survival, of a life well lived. Every line on his face told a story, stories of joy, pain, love, and loss. And every gray hair was a testament to the wisdom he had earned through years of living authentically. He no longer saw himself through the eyes of others. He saw himself as he truly was, a man of value, strength, and infinite potential. He had come to realize that his worth was never dependent on the approval or validation of someone else. It had always been there, waiting for him to claim it. He just had to recognize it within himself. The beauty of rediscovery. As the months passed, his world began to blossom in ways he hadn't expected. He traveled to places he had once dreamed of visiting, experiencing the world with fresh eyes. He found joy in the smallest things: a sunrise, a good book, a conversation with a friend. He no longer chased after love or validation from external sources. Instead, he nurtured the love that was already within him, and in doing so, he set a new standard for the love he would allow into his life. He had learned that true love begins with self-love. It's the love we give ourselves that sets the foundation for how others should treat us. And as he moved forward, he carried this lesson with him. He understood now that aging wasn't about loss. It was about uncovering what truly mattered. What mattered most was the peace he had found within himself, not in someone else's arms, but in his own heart. This story is a powerful reminder for anyone who has ever felt torn between the desire for love and the need to preserve their dignity. Love, in its truest form, should never come at the expense of self-respect. We are worthy of love, not because of what we can give to others, but because of who we are. As we grow older, it is crucial to remember that the love we seek must start from within. Only when we embrace our own worth can we invite others to see and honor us in the same way. The illusion of youth, a tempting but deceptive pursuit. The allure of youth is undeniable, a force that pulls even the most seasoned souls towards its shimmering promise of vitality, energy, and unburdened joy. It's not difficult to understand why someone might find comfort in the thought of reliving their younger days, especially when faced with the prospect of love or companionship. For many, youth symbolizes everything that seems to fade with time, energy, beauty, and the belief that anything is possible. It's a golden era we all long to return to, whether in body or spirit. But therein lies the problem. The illusion of youth, when chased at any cost, can be deceptive and ultimately harmful. The character in the story exemplifies this temptation. Seeking to reignite the spark of his earlier years through a relationship with a younger partner, he hoped to feel the vibrancy and excitement of youth once more. At first, the experience was exhilarating. The youthful energy, the fresh perspective, the wide-eyed optimism. It felt like an elixir for his aging soul. Yet, as time went on, cracks began to form in the illusion. He found himself giving more of his energy than he received, desperately trying to fit into a mold that was never truly his. The younger partner, though charming and energetic, could never fully understand the depths of his experience or the weight of his journey, the danger of compromise. Sacrificing one's values for love. Love can sometimes feel like a battlefield. We all want to be loved, to feel seen, and to belong, but at what cost? For many, the desire to be in a relationship can become so strong that they begin to compromise their core values, their dignity, and their sense of self-worth. It's easy to justify these compromises, especially when loneliness looms large or when the hope of a future together feels like the only thing worth holding on to. Yet, as the character in the story discovered, love should never require us to abandon who we are at our core. True love is not about endurance, nor is it a contest of who can withstand the most pain for the sake of another. It's about mutual respect, understanding, and a willingness to honor each other's needs and boundaries. When love becomes a place where one must constantly sacrifice their own well-being for the other, it turns toxic. The relationship the character found himself in was no longer one of mutual growth. It was one-sided, with him constantly giving without receiving in return. In relationships, both parties should feel seen and valued for who they are, not just for who they can become for the other. Love isn't supposed to diminish us. It's meant to elevate us. The importance of self-love, the foundation for healthy relationships. Self-love is often misunderstood. In a world that promotes self-sacrifice in the name of love, it's easy to forget that we must first love ourselves in order to give love to others. This isn't a self-centered or narcissistic practice. Rather, it's an essential act of self-respect. Without a healthy sense of self-worth, we risk losing ourselves in the pursuit of someone else's approval. The character's journey illustrates the profound truth that to be loved fully, one must first learn to love themselves. This is not about pride or vanity. It's about acceptance. It's about acknowledging our strengths, our flaws, our vulnerabilities, and even the scars that life has left behind. These scars, after all, are proof that we've lived, learned, and endured. For too long, the character had prioritized the approval of others, especially his partner, at the expense of his own well-being. He had forgotten that true love must start from within. Self-love is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built. When we fail to cultivate a deep sense of self-worth, we open ourselves up to the possibility of being mistreated, taken for granted, or even disrespected. This revelation was painful for him, but it marked the beginning of his healing process. He realized that self-love isn't selfish, it's a moral obligation. To love ourselves is to honor our worth, and to do so is to set a standard for how we should be treated by others. The power of integrity, defining one's worth. Age often brings with it a profound sense of wisdom. However, society tends to equate value with youth, and this can lead to feelings of inadequacy for those who are older. The character in the story struggled with this perception. At first, he allowed his worth to be defined by someone else's standards, their youthful energy, their superficial criteria for beauty, and their disregard for the wisdom that came with his years. But as he grew more introspective, he began to understand something far more powerful. His worth was not defined by his age or how closely he could conform to society's ideals. It was defined by his integrity, his resilience, and his ability to remain authentic in the face of challenges. Integrity is the backbone of true self-respect. It's not about pleasing others or adhering to external standards. It's about staying true to who you are, even when the world around you doesn't understand. The character began to see his life not through the lens of age, but as a tapestry of experiences, some joyous, some painful, but all part of his journey. Each wrinkle, each gray hair, was a symbol of his strength and survival. His experiences, the challenges he had faced, and the wisdom he had gained made him who he was. He no longer saw his age as a burden or a loss. He embraced it as a testament to his resilience. The gift of reflection, learning and growing through adversity. Every relationship is an opportunity to learn about ourselves, even the most difficult ones. Through the pain of his failed relationship, the character came to see his own growth. He began to reflect not on what he had lost, but on what he had gained: self-awareness, emotional resilience, and a deeper understanding of his own needs. Reflection, he discovered, is a powerful tool for personal growth. By looking back on his experiences, he was able to identify the patterns that had led him to compromise his own values, and in doing so, he was able to break free from those patterns. Solitude, once feared, became his refuge, a sacred space where he could heal, reflect, and rediscover the parts of himself that had been lost. This time alone allowed him to reconnect with his passions, his values, and his dreams. He was no longer defined by the relationship he had left behind. He was defined by his own choices, his own integrity. The lesson: choosing dignity, self-respect, and authenticity over fleeting illusions. In the end, the most profound lesson the character learned was that true love begins with self-respect and authenticity. The moment he walked away from a relationship that no longer served him, he took back his dignity. Solitude, once perceived as a punishment, became a gift, an opportunity to rediscover who he was outside of someone else's expectations. The lesson he learned is a universal one. Never sacrifice your self-worth for the fleeting illusion of love or companionship. Love that is true and lasting will never require you to compromise your integrity or your values. It will lift you up, not diminish you. In reflecting on this journey, he realized that aging wasn't something to be feared or avoided. It was a rich and valuable process that allowed him to uncover the things that truly matter: love, respect, authenticity, and self-worth. The greatest love story he ever wrote was the one he wrote with himself. Through this journey, he found peace, not in someone else's approval, but in the quiet certainty of his own worth.